Well, it's Monday at about 10, which means that as long as, I'm not off and about somewhere or someone else is, it's time for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. But I don't know. I'm not sure how relaxing it's going to be today. I did some stuff over the weekend. Going to take the paper towel off and see what it looks like. Hopefully it'll be okay. And then I've got the fuselage, and I am quite anxious about that. I had this painted really well. Okay. I mean, it really was done pretty well, but I wanted to check it in the light, and I dropped it and got a fingerprint in the paint, and I've been trying to repair it, and I think every time I've tried to fix it, it's gotten worse. So I'm a little bit anxious about looking at that to see what I've gotten myself into there. So there's a couple of things. There's a bunch of stuff I could just do today, but I don't know how it's going to go. I guess it depends on, if the fuselage is looking okay, then I'm going to unmask it and touch up the inside and start, going, yay, that's great, it's working, everything's fine. If the fuselage isn't okay, then I'm going to be sad and go, I'm not sure how to fix this or what to do about it. We'll explore some alternatives, and then I'll move on to some other things that are less distressing. But the things I was painting over the weekend, I don't know if you remember these. This is the horizontal stabilizer, and it was plagued with differences, really significant differences in the texture of the plastic. So even though I had painted it red, I reprimed it and repainted it, and I have to say it's still there if you're looking for it, if you know what you're looking for. They were little V-shaped things here and along the edges, especially on the top. I have to say I fixed this, so that's a yay, hooray thing that isn't a mess. So this actually is done. There's nothing I can do with it more until I install it, until I put it in, and then got those. I keep forgetting about those 4 little braces under there, but this is a good thing. So we're starting out okay with this looking kind of crummy. It really did. It looked kind of crummy, and now it looks pretty good. So I'm going to celebrate by getting the done box here. It's good to look at the done box there. The done box has the inside of the fuselage, which, except for the machine gun that continuously moves around, came out, I think, really well. The engine compartment, that I also think came out really well. The engine compartment hatches, maintenance hatches, which came out just fine. The machine gun cover goes on when the fuselage is put on over the top of this, it goes right there so that you can reload the machine guns. And now the horizontal stabilizer gets to go here. Nothing else is going to be done today. So I'm just going to put that away. This is very red now. I used up a lot of spray paint. I might end up having to buy another bottle. Okay. The other thing I had to repaint was the rudder. And the reason for that is that this point here, right there, that much of it stays white. It's a white stripe. Everything behind it is painted red. And this came out pretty well, but it didn't match. So I repainted it. And actually now it does. It matches pretty well. at least on this side. Let's see what the other side looks like. Yeah, I mean that'll do. Um, the gloss is different there. It looks like this could use just one more little spritz of white paint, so that the gloss matches better. I think I'll do that. Why not? I'm going to do that right now. Just what the heck. And then maybe I'll do some, after it dries later on in the stream, maybe I'll do some taping on it. So that, assuming that I didn't mess it up, it was like 90% just fine, and who knows what it's going to be now. Yeah, we'll see how that is. I started to paint the, well, here, move this over this way. I started to paint the bottoms of the floats, the wingtip floats, working really hard on the boundary between this and the top. The top is going to be painted red. So I've got one coat of the desert yellow on it. Needs at least two. My experience has been usually three. So I'm going to, probably paint those. So if the white turns out okay, I'm going to begin work on striping the vertical stabilizer and rudder. And that'll mainly involve some taping. I'll talk about it when I get to it. I have a plan that may or may not work. I'm not sure. And if I'm feeling brave, I'll start taping the wings. The next step on taping the wings is to tape off the part that'll stay white and the part that'll turn green. So just to show you on this wing, I'll be taping this off and covering this area. The wingtip is red, the center is red, okay, and the same thing on this side. And after the red is painted, hopefully it will be okay. That masking comes off, okay, and then just this stripe here, it masks on the outside and masks on the inside. This stripe here gets painted green. So it's a multi-step process. One step is to tape the part that will stay white, this, and turn green, this, and then turn the wingtips in the center and the wingtip on both sides red, that nice glossy Italian red. Untape that. Pretty much. Hi, Aman. Well, one thing worked. One thing almost worked, and I have to look at the fuselage, and I'm anxious about that because that's the part that I dropped. I don't know if you remember, I dropped after it was painted, and I think it was really good, but I wanted to be sure. So I was looking at it in a different light, and as I moved it, I dropped it and got a fingerprint into the wet paint, and I tried to repair it, and I think all I did was pile up piles and piles of paint. I think I made a mess of it. I probably should pull it out and take a look at it, but I don't know. If it's okay, it can wait. If it's not okay, I don't want to see it. I'm worried about it. Anything can probably be repaired. I can always sand it down and remove the paint, and I could even practically start over on it. But generally, every time I do something like that, sometimes it's worked out okay, and sometimes it just hasn't. So It's mostly going okay, except for that one thing where I just made a huge disaster, just a stupid disaster. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and paint a second coat of the desert yellow on these floats. That has to be done. I think I can do that without a problem. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on these little bits. The gun sight, okay, which is this tiny little plastic thing up there that's going to probably end up getting lost if I'm not careful. And then on the last page, there's these bits, the airspeed indicator, which is a thing with a little bit of a propeller, which ends up getting painted red and silvery. So I think I'll prep this part and try not to lose it. And I'm going to prep the gun sight and try not to lose it. And then I'm going to pull out the pieces for the propeller, the spinner cap that goes on the front and the housing behind it. And the propeller itself. Deck tan, huh? These get painted deck tan. I think I'm going to do those things, and then I can't avoid it forever. I am going to pull out the fuselage and look at it and try to decide what to do about it. But I'd like to accomplish a couple of things before I do that, just in case it's not good. If it's not good, then then I'll talk about what I'm going to do about it, or try to do about it. So why not? Let's do some relaxing painting. And how are you doing today, Aman? Yeah. Okay. She did some further character development. That's cool. What did you do? What were you working on specifically on Arachne? Oh, okay. You mean what they are, the different forms for the queen? You mean which forms are going to be allowable, or how you're going to do the transformation? Mm-hmm. Last time I painted these, I was holding them this way, which worked pretty well. But then I forgot that, I'm holding them. What can I do with it? So I just grab these clips and while the paint is drying, that's how it's going to be handled. It looks like I need to paint along the edges again, some lighter spots. So I'll get the little brush out and do that, and then use this larger brush to fill in the paperwork. The paperwork needed to. Oh, that's right. When she transforms, it isn't just an appearance anymore. Okay, that's right. If it was just an appearance, then that wouldn't really be much of an issue. But it's an actual character transformation, so that's pretty significant. I'm going to use a little out of the bottle cap. I like to use the paint out of the bottle cap so it's not wasted. I'm painting a dungeon tile. All the paint in the bottle cap gets used like right away because it's a real high volume kind of thing. When I'm painting little things like this, or especially minifigs, I hardly use any of it at all before it starts to dry so much that the consistency can't be used anymore. Should put my head magnifier on to do this, but I'm not. Have you talked to your DM about that? Is your DM okay with the ability to transform? In some ways, it's like druidic, so it's not extremely exotic, or weird. Because in D&D, druids can do that. They can transform into an animal that they have observed, and then they take on the characteristics of that animal. So it's not a really odd thing to do at all. It's that. But then druids have rules about that. They can only do that a certain number of times during a period of time. During before there's a rest, that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, if I recall correctly, you need to spend a lot of points in order to get that ability. So it's probably something that we'll have to wait anyway until the game progresses. Did the other players know that you're working on a transformation ability like that? Are they aware of that, or is that something that it won't come up until the ability is actually there? Yeah, I can see how the mechanics of that really start becoming complicated. I mean, it's something that you're just creating kind of from scratch. I think I'm gonna clean the brush here and then finish this one and then do the other one. Right, right now, I know that you mentioned that it's purely cosmetic, so that it's a simple thing that doesn't take much energy from her, which is good. So this is a really ambitious thing that you're doing for your character. Too much paint on the brush. You have to be careful too, because this dries pretty quickly, and I don't want to. Thing. Yeah, it does seem pretty inexpensive for an ability like that. It's coming along. Oh yeah, that's right. If you change back, it's another transformation, isn't it? So do you need to get your DM's approval then after you've gotten all these mechanics designed? Your DM has to approve them all, or at least be aware of them. Yeah, I can see what you mean about the paperwork. Sorry, I'm being quiet here. I'm just trying to get this front of the float here. Just a little odd angle for me. Most of the edges are pretty well painted, but this one right there wasn't. Edge is a little ragged right here too. Why is the paint not getting on the brush? I see. Well, that's really true. I mean, if you have a newer player, fundamentals, the basics of just how your characters work. Otherwise, you can get lost, really get lost in trying to do kind of extravagant things with your character and kind of miss the point. So I think that was good advice, is to go slow like that. And when the other characters, when your other players, become aware of what you're doing, then they'll get curious about how you developed it, and that'll be a good way. It'll be a good learning experience for them too, because when you reveal or purchase your ability, you'll need to explain it to the other players. least I'm keeping this on camera. Hey, good morning, and thanks for joining in. Ah, okay. So you've already worked out how that's going to be revealed. The other, so in game, let me just ask this. So in game, are the other characters, the other characters don't know she's not human, do they? That hasn't been revealed yet? It will, when that's revealed, it'll be interesting how the other players in character, okay, because it's role playing, they'll have to react to the revelation in character. I think it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. I'm thinking maybe 2 coats of this will be enough, I hope. Okay, so some of the other players have, kind of a hint that maybe there's something different going on. That's good. That's interesting. Oh, reaching over even a little bottle like that. Don't do that. Okay. In the how-to portion of this show, learning how to by learning how not to, don't reach over things like open bottles of paint, because it'd be real easy for your sleeve to get caught in it or to just be distracted by something and knock it over. Um, I know that. I know those things can happen because they have. So I'm speaking from experience. Once again, don't do what I did. Oh, okay. That's pretty interesting. Is that one of the other characters knows that? No, okay, yeah. They know, but she doesn't know, and they don't know how to break the news to her and they don't know if she knows or doesn't know. That's pretty good. I like that complication. No, that's good. Just drop stuff on the floor. Tell her, don't tell her. Does she know? Doesn't she know? And then she needs to be reassured, that everybody else is okay with it, because even if she knows, it might be that she doesn't know that anybody else knows. That's kind of a classic situation, isn't it? Where some people know and some people don't know. And the other characters, some of them suspect, but others don't. And they can even have a dialogue about, she's not human. Yes, she is. No, she isn't. What if she really is and you tell her that she's not? That could be really fun role playing. I mean, all by itself. I mean, it really could. It could go on. It could be kind of a recurring theme that could go on for 3 or 4 or 5 sessions before finally there's some sort of resolution one way or the other in terms of letting her know or not knowing. The other players in the DM might enjoy that. I don't know. Okay, well, I did some painting. I put a second coat on the bottom of the floats. I'm going to let those dry and then inspect them and see if they need a third or not. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. these there's this nice ridge right along there. That's the dividing line between the bottom of the float, which is painted the color of the wood. It's supposed to be wood construction of the plane, and then the top is painted red. These struts, no doubt, are metal, but they're painted red as well. So after I'm done doing this, then there will be a challenge of masking it before spray painting the red. You might say, well, why didn't you spray paint the red first? The reason was that I wasn't sure I could get a really nice clean line by hand painting. And the reality is that it looks like I can. If I'd known that, I probably would have spray painted. I'd just done some masking, some rough masking on it, and spray painted it red, and then probably sanded off some of the red that spilled over onto the float, and then painted the float like I'm doing now. I may end up having to do that anyway, depending on how the masking goes. Red might get onto the float. Yeah, there's a spot there that I kind of missed. I'm not going to touch that up till the paint dries, and then I'll probably have to do some touching up along this anyway. So what I'm expecting will happen is that I'll have to redo a fair amount of this instead of having done it in a different order. Okay, I'm still not ready. I'm not ready yet to look at the fuselage to see if I've got a disastrous mess there or not. Yeah. If you weren't in right at the very beginning of this, I've been having problems getting the spray painting stuff to work. I had the fuselage painted red. It was good. It was fine, but I didn't trust myself, and I dropped it while I was inspecting it. And now there's a fingerprint that I tried to sand out and repaint, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how successful I was, and I don't want to look at it and try to figure out how to fix something if it needs to be fixed. So what I'm going to do instead of doing that and maybe ruining my day, I don't know, is I'm going to prep the parts, little bits of parts. Oh, yeah. She wouldn't know how it was, and she would know that she wasn't. This gun sight is still attached to the sprue here. I'm going to take that off and file down the edge, the sprue attachment. And then I've got this little bit here, which is much, much smaller than it looks in the picture. That's instead of a Pitot tube, which a lot of planes use to determine airspeed, it's got a little propeller, which was very common back then. That's how it was done. It's just a free spinning propeller where they move it through the air and it spins, and the speed at which it's spinning tells you what the airspeed is. Kind of like the old mechanical speedometers on a car. So I'll get that prepped. The spinner part is painted metallic, but the rest of it is painted red. So I'll probably end up painting, I don't know, I'll see what it looks like. And then these bits here are not too terribly difficult. So I'm going to take parts off of sprues and do some sanding and filing. I've got this one here, so I might as well do it right off. Oh, right. If she finds that out, that will definitely be that'll definitely send a signal. Okay, this is a nasty part. It's really tiny. The attachment to the sprue is actually almost twice as thick as the part itself. Oh, that's going to be a pretty dramatic event. Have you already got that sort of semi-planned? This is my splurge. We splurged on a couple of things for the painting stream. This is one of them. It's a little micro saw that I use to take parts off of the sprue rather than cutting them off with an X-Acto knife or breaking them. It's less likely to cause irreparable damage. I shouldn't say irreparable. Any damage on a plastic model like this can be fixed if one is skilled. For me, not being that skilled. Yeah. Here, let me turn it this way so you can see what I'm doing. I've gotten better about being on screen, I think. There. Gets closer like that so you can see more what I'm doing. You don't see more of it. You actually see less because it's closer. Less, not more. But you can better able to see things if I move it closer. But then because there is actually less on camera, it's more likely that I'll be doing whatever I'm doing off camera. So I have to be careful with that. There, now I've got a piece of excess plastic. Yeah, so now you can see where the sprue is attached there? That needs to totally disappear without damaging this really, really thin, tiny piece that's actually even hard to hold. Good. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I don't know if this is easier or going to work better than. I have to put almost no pressure on this. I probably could have sawn it off closer, but I didn't. I don't want to put any pressure on this because this is really small, really tiny and brittle. So this is going to take like a month of Sundays. It's going to take a while. The other thing I need to do, this will be an interesting thing, is see the canopy. When it's a windshield, really, it's not a canopy on this, it's just a windshield, is clear. It's a piece of clear plastic. But the support structure, the metal frame, basically is the metal frame for it, needs to be painted red. The way that's classically done is that it's masked off. Right? Put masking tape on everything except these tiny little lines, which will be spray painted red, and then you take the tape off and everything is, nice clean lines and everything is happy, and it looks gorgeous, or it doesn't. Got all these, this part's not too bad. That's just a rectangle, right? There's a point. So taping that right there so that it's a really nice point. That's where the paint will tend to build up and leak and stuff. The other thing, though, is removing the paint if it gets onto the clear surface is really, really hard without marring the clear plastic. I've had one success in my history of model building where I got a drop of cement on a clear plastic part. It was actually a Phantom Mustang, which is a really cool kit. If you ever have a chance to get one, they reissued it. It came out when I was a kid, and my dad built it. And then they reissued it maybe about 20 years ago, and I got one. and I built it. It's the whole fuselage and wings, the whole body of the Mustang, the P-51, is made out of clear plastic, so you can see some of the internal parts. It's not incredibly detailed on the inside, but it's, there's the radio there and the fuel tank and the machine guns. What I managed to do was, as I was sparingly applying the cement to the two parts of the wing to hold them together, is I got a drop on the wing, and of course, the cement dissolved the plastic, so I had this horrible scar. I spent probably 4 hours buffing that out with this stuff. Actually, this is probably this very same sheet. I've had it that long. Buffed it out, and I was successful. You can't really even see that it's there, so I know it's possible, but it is really tedious, and there's no guarantee of success. Just feeling still on this side. For some reason, the sprue came over the side, yay, instead of just on the top. Yeah, I can even see it here. Well, that was because the sprue was twice the diameter of the piece itself. This is going to end up being painted flat black. And it's so tiny. I'm not terribly concerned about scratch marks. Probably give it a rub down with some fine sandpaper, though, just to minimize it. I'm using this big flat one. Yeah, her current one is purple, right? And the red is attack. The white is she goes blind but can control her strings. What is the black one? The one is it's okay. So there's really four. Oh, that's why you were talking about five altogether. There's four transformations from her iris form. Which one are you thinking of doing first in game? Yeah, when she gets enough points to develop. One thing I need to check: these little parts are injection molded. Even a tiny one like this will tend to have a little spine, a ridge along its length where the two halves of the mold didn't quite match up. It didn't close up, and so tiny little bit of plastic oozes out. Spent a fair amount of time. Usually after I get the primer on, it's like, oh, I didn't see that before, and now I do. I like that too. You're really good at storytelling and character development. Enforcer Hound, who comes on from time to time, is also really good at that. These role-playing games are really best when the players really become their characters. Okay, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to get painted. The whole thing has to be black. And there's no place to hold it. What I might end up doing is like clipping it here, painting that whole thing, and then just holding it by hand and painting that last bit. And then putting it in a hole like this. Fold it up. I'm not sure. I think I might just go ahead and paint it. I might just do that today. In fact, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to clean it. Clean there. Any sanding, filing dust that might be on it. So I have three blacks. Absolutely every time, without fail, and it has been for, probably like a dozen different times. I've got these Viejo blacks. There's two of them. One is glossy and one is flat. One is a model color, and the other one is something else. I'm trying to figure out where to put this box. It's the box of parts. Because what I need to do for the billionth time is look at my color chart. Model color, okay. I don't know if you can see it. Game color is glossy. Model color is flat, and I want the flat because you don't want your gun sight to be reflecting light. It'll be really distracting. So I need the black model color. Which is here somewhere. Model. Huh, I found it right off. That was, I don't know how to explain that. Huh. That was just kind of shocking. But what I'm going to attempt to do here, I'm going to put this on the alligator clip. And what I want is for this to not pop off of the alligator clip and go flying somewhere. That has happened. Okay. It grabs on and then it slips like it almost did there. And if it slips, it's going to be, it'll fly. It'll just go. That would be bad. Finding it would be really hard to do. I'm just going to use a larger brush. I just need to cover it. This paint's been sitting around for a while. Oh, if you're wondering, here, you can't see any of this. Here. Those are the floats I was painting. This is the gun sight, and that's Porco Rosso. The model comes with a minifig, the Porco Rosso minifig, and at some point I'm just going to paint that as yeah. I mean, if her eyes aren't working, it makes sense that she would close her eyes. Yeah, they're kind of spooky looking. to look at her and see her eyes all be white like that. Although I imagine when she transforms that the other players would be able to see that, right? They would be able to see her eyes turning white. Right there. I didn't bother priming this because it's just so tiny, and this paint will work. It's black, and at some point after this is dried, I'm going to take it off the alligator clip and paint a bit where the alligator clip is holding it. It's an interesting concept of a gun sight. I'll show you the model, and you can see how it sort of works. I'll show you the instruction, not the model, the instruction sheet. So the windshield here, the windshield actually has a small hole in it here, and the gun sight goes through the hole by quite a distance, actually. Probably about a third of it, maybe even a half, is inside the windshield. And it isn't, it's just a solid rod. Okay. And the Porco Rosso, who's sitting in the seat back here, just looks along the rod. I mean, it's just very simple. And if you're sighting along the rod, and you can tell if you are, because then it's just this little circle, right, instead of seeing the rod. If you're sighting along the rod and it's lined up with your target, then you know your plane is lined up with your target, and you can fire the machine guns, these two machine guns here, at your target. So it's just pretty effective that way, and it's not very complicated. It's just a piece of metal that is now a tiny piece of plastic painted black that's sitting there, and we're watching the paint dry. Okay, what I'm going to do next is yeah, I mean, she would when she transforms that way. I'm going to find this little bit and try not to lose that and prep it. And then I'll get these parts. I know where those are. Those are large parts. And I'm not too terribly worried about losing those, but yeah. I think keep the black out. I'm going to need that again. I think they're all on the brown. Oh, I keep forgetting these. We'll have to come back to these. These little struts are really badly molded too. They got you can I don't know if you can see it, but from the injection molding, there's just all sorts of like flashing little bits of plastic all around the outside. And the rest of this model, the parts aren't all that too terribly tiny, but for some reason, underneath the horizontal stabilizer on the tail, there are these 4 little struts that are supposed to support it. I'll just show you. Here. So when this gets assembled, the tail and the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical, it gets put on, you flip it over, and then these little struts go between the horizontal stabilizer and the fuselage. and each one of them is different in terms of length and angle. So each one has to be kept very, very distinctly labeled until they are, as it says, carefully apply them with tweezers. I am really tempted to just fill those holes in, sand them down, make them go away, and not bother. At some point, I'm going to end up spending like 3 streams doing nothing but attaching those little things. It's going to happen. So there they are. These are the decals. There's a lot of little decals. I'm painting the white and green stripes on instead of using the decals. I've talked about that. Here's the propeller parts. I don't know why they're molded in silver, but they are, or in gray. So I'll be getting these out. And what I need to do is find, in here is the canopy. There it is. Okay. I knew it was small, but I didn't realize it was ludicrously small. I'm keeping the clear canopy in this paper towel so it doesn't get scratched up, and so that it's in a paper towel so it won't get lost. I'm not even going to try there. Okay. There it is. It's the absurdly tiny airspeed indicator. You can see how little it is. Okay. So I have to take that off and get rid of the flashing on it because it's, molded that way, and not lose it. So looking at it, it's really, really tiny. Right. And it needs to be painted the same red as the wings and the fuselage. I have to saw this off without touching the little propeller thing. Which will make it take a while. So this will get painted the red. And then I'm going to paint the propeller. I'm going to paint it all red. Maybe I'll put a little masking tape on the propeller. I'm not sure. And then I'll paint the propeller metallic after that. I'm actually going to prime this thing before I paint it. There's another one of those things where the screw that attaches it is almost bigger than the part itself. It's not as bad as the gun sight was, but it's pretty bad. Stick holding this on. And I can't move very far up because then the saw will cut into a little propeller bit. And I don't want to put too much pressure on it because then it'll pop off and go flying. Hopefully it would go flying there. Okay, and these I'm going to save for some time in the future. there's certain parts of this model that just go, oh, I really can't believe this has to be done. These little parts are kind of taxing the limits of my ability, my manual dexterity. What I really like about this is that the sprue is attached. This attaches to. This is the attachment point here. Okay, and so why didn't they attach the sprue there? Right? You could just file it off, and it attached, and nobody would ever notice. No, it's attached to the outside of this, which is the part that's visible, which means that I need to really do a good job of getting all the remnants of the sprue off of this part. And it's really tiny, and I've almost knocked off the propeller twice now. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I'm just bumping it. I need to try to rub at it with this 1500 grit paper until there is no remnant of the sprue to be seen or felt on this tiny little surface. I could bring the camera way down close. Yeah, and you can watch me rub at it with this 1500 grit emery cloth. It's really, I mean, it has some really nice detail in it. Rivets and the interior detail. The cockpit had all sorts of controls, trim tabs. Instrument panel that was pretty nicely molded. And it's like the addition of who would have thought, right? Who would have thought when you're making a model that you need to have the airspeed indicator spinner and of course it's a separate part with the sprue attached to just the absolute worst place on the entire thing. It's all rounded, which makes it hard to grip, a little bit slippery. So the blind queen would be in terms of, if your party gets into an event, would be like a crowd control, non-lethal crowd control. I think that's really consistent with the character that you're developing. little bits of flashing. I call it that. The excess plastic that oozed out between the halves of the mold. I'm going to put this in the box right away. I'll give that a spray of primer. Get these done while I'm sanding and filing. I don't know why these were done in gray. Nothing else is, and they're not going to end up gray. These are going to end up kind of a grayish brown, and this ends up looking like wood. It's going to be mahogany and make it look like dark, rich wood. But they are molded in gray for a reason. If you're wondering why I'm doing this now, I mean, they eventually have to come off and they have to be prepped and they have to be primed and painted, right? I mean, it has to happen eventually. It could be at a different time, but I'm doing this now because I don't want to look at the fuselage, the thing that I dropped and I tried to fix, and I think I didn't fix it. Do you think that would make sense that the blind queen who would, you know, would use her blade like that, maybe as a last resort? I don't know. I just want to be a little bit skeptical about having her do too many things, but also get into attack mode like that. I'm not sure. I mean, it might make sense in terms of her character. So this sprue, this is another one of those. You can see it here. It's not just, it could be attached like right there, where it could be just filed down and sanded flat, but it's attached and goes into the spinner. That's what it's called, this little nose cone thing that goes on the front of the propeller. And so that's more stuff that has to be sanded until it disappears. So I really appreciate the detail that went into this model, but I'm not happy sometimes about the way it was molded. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, you might have that as kind of a last resort sort of thing. Protect yourself from death or maybe one of your party members, but probably not something that she would use ordinarily. So as you're making a model like this, you can, I don't know, it's hard to see. I can't see if it's focusing very well. I mean, it might be focused, but it's my monitor is at a distance from me where I'm not focused. But the sprue was attached right there. And you can see a little bit of white. Okay. And that's where the sprue is still raised above the surface. And one thing I've learned when sanding this down using a very, 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 very fine grit sandpaper, basically a polishing cloth, is you can tell not just by feeling it with a like nail, but visually when that goes away. Okay, when that goes away, then it's gone and the surface is even. It would go away faster if I use this coarser grit, but then I end up with scratch marks on the surface of the plastic, and then they have to be polished out anyway. So I just use this really fine grit stuff to begin with. And it's just boring for you all to watch this happen. So she uses her string as her long range senses, but you've said that before, that she's able to use them to like a puppeteer kind of, to manipulate, entrap or grab hold of and manipulate. You can see it's almost gone. And then because this does change the texture of the raw plastic, I'm going to just rub the entire thing with this so that it's uniform. Just a little bump there, and it's hard to see. You need to catch the light just right, which means that it's pretty much invisible. If I have to manipulate it and I know where to look, and I have to catch the light just right, that if someone were inspecting the model later, they wouldn't see it. But they shouldn't see it anyway. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out. I think I'm maintaining A-level work. The only part at this point so far that I'm really concerned about is that fuselage where I stuck my finger on it after I dropped it. That was just devastatingly bad, and it was just so dumb, such a dumb thing to do. Like, oh, I want to see it in a different light. And I forgot that it wasn't taped down to the little piece of cardboard that was holding it. Like all the other pieces were taped down, and I tipped it a little bit and it slid off. It was, oh God, what did I do? So I just to give it, so that it's all deglossed equally. This will be primed. I have to start building models with bigger pieces. This is the back of the spinner. The propeller goes through here, and the spinner goes on, and basically the propeller is trapped between these two parts, and that's what holds it together. And then this little shaft here goes into a retainer on the inside of the model, and supposedly it actually is supposed to spin. I don't know if it'll work or not. Um, Time comes. It's still there. I put a paper towel down for a couple of reasons. One is it helps me see, and maybe you too, with the white background. The other is it catches the dust, and I can just toss the paper towel. The other is that it's got a rough surface on it, and it catches things when I drop them. Okay, the sprue, there's where the sprue was attached. Again, in an inconvenient location. Sanding block on this. Okay, so she would use her ability, her string ability to gather information and direct her minions. This is not working very well. Yes, I won't. I wanted to use that so I could avoid making a divot. You know, as I'm trying to sand down the sprue, I don't want it to be sanded down so much that it actually causes an indentation, but my sanding block isn't working with this, so I just need to do this slowly and tediously and carefully until, once again, you can see a little white spot there. I think that's where it. I need to make that disappear. So is the blind, which transformation are you going to do first? Are you going to do the summoner or the blind queen? Done with this, I'm going to clean them off and prepare them for priming. And what I mean by that is I'm going to tape them down to a little piece of cardboard so that when I spray the primer on them, they don't go flying. You know, one of the two first. So what does the one with the black eyes do? Excess plastic and a really difficult to get place. I can just feel it a little bit with my fingernail. This is going to be painted in a flat color with a wash on it, so it won't be too visible. There's a little bit of a bump there, especially since it's on the inside of the propeller. Okay, that's quite an ability, almost necromancy-ish. Okay. Great. Let that sit in the water and messed up the bristles. I'm going to take this off. A little bit there. It needs to be painted black. And there's still black paint here that's still kind of alive. And I'm going to do that. And now you will say, and what are you going to do? Hold it now for the next 10 minutes while the paint dries? And the answer to that could be yes. I mean, I could end up just holding it like this. I don't want to use the alligator clip because I'm afraid that it might scrape the paint off. I'm going to do. Whoa, that was almost a disaster. I don't know. Um, this wood block, which holds alligator clips. Okay, it's an old piece of wood that I use for drilling through something. When you're drilling through something, you don't want splinters on the backside, so you put it on a piece of wood like this, and then drill through it into the next piece of wood. And that's why these holes are here, because they were all there from drilling something else. When I was attempting to just set this into one of the holes like that, and it flipped. It went flying. I almost lost it. But I didn't. It was not losing it was good. I'm going to get a little piece of cardboard here. Ouch. My knee is bad. I just let you know that by going, ouch. Got a piece of cardboard right here. Hi, Enforcer. Thanks for joining in. It's going okay. I'm making really, really slow progress as usual. I put a second coat of paint on the floats. They're looking okay. I think I need to put a third coat on because there's still some light spots on it. And then I'll attempt to tape them up and let me go lift this up a little bit so people can see kind of what's going on. And there's these little bits of remaining stuff for the model, the airspeed indicator, the gun sight, black thing there, tiny little black thing. I got the horizontal stabilizer looking okay, the tail part. I reprimed it and painted it over the weekend, and it looks good. I think I've got the vertical stabilizer and rudder okay. I put another little blip of paint on it just to be sure on one side because the gloss didn't match the rest. And I'm going to tape that so that I can practice painting stripes. And I'm afraid to look at the fuselage. Cool. Maybe tonight. Hopefully have you been in touch with the barbarian? Are they feeling any better? It'd be nice if they were able to come out and join. Just a little isopropyl alcohol I'm going to use to clean these. And then, of course, I'm just going to touch them again. I don't know why I'm bothering. But there's dust on here from the sanding process. I want that to be off for when they're primed. I could have just used water. All sorts of tiny little bits of things. So the spinner, which goes onto the propeller, is painted this color called deck tan, which I used a lot on some other models. It's actually the same color as Porco Rosso's flight suit. That's interesting. And the propeller is wood, and it's supposed to be painted the color that they suggest using it. Oh, well, at least went out for that. Red brown to make it look like wood, but I have a way of making it look like really nice wood, like I showed you on the dungeon tiles. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Here, I've cluttered my work area really badly again. Just roll the tape, make a little roll of tape, stick it down there, stick that on like that. And hopefully it won't go anywhere. These only need to be done on one side. The propeller needs to be primed and then flipped over. So you're starting it anyway? You're starting this world? Oh, that's the Sky World. You've talked about that before. I think that's pretty interesting. So those will get primed just on one side. This one, I'll do it this way and then I'll flip it over. It's going to be hand painted later. And then the last bit is the airspeed indicator, which is in here. Tiny little piece. And that needs to be primed on both sides. So stick it down, prime it, let it dry, flip it over. Then it'll be spray painted red. You might try to do that between now and Wednesday. Is get that spray painted red so that I can just finish it, and then I'll put it in there. I should put it in the done box, but it's so tiny it's going to get lost. It'll just be put in the done container here. It's where the done gun sight is going to go also, and where these done little bits of propeller stuff will go in there. This might fit too. So on Wednesday, I'll be painting these things. There'll be some relaxing little bits of painting. Okay. So it'll be like a character creation session. That's always a fun thing to do, and it's fun to do it together too, as a group. Okay, so there's these. I'm just looking at this and trying to think of what I can do other than look at the fuselage, which I can't keep avoiding it. I think at some point I just need to pull it out, take a look at it, see if it's acceptable, and if not, just sigh a lot. I'm going to just do a lot of sighing and head shaking. I'm going to practice that now. I don't know how to fix this. I'm not sure what to do. I'm practicing for when I look at the fuselage and see that where I put my thumbprint on it when I picked it up, because I just dropped it on the floor and then panicked, and just one series of bad, stupid things after the other. Tilt it over, drop it on the floor. The paint is still wet. Panic, pick it up. I picked it up and got my thumb on the side of it. And then there's this white thumbprint where the paint came off onto my thumb. And it was like, oh my God. And then I sprayed it again, thinking maybe if I get some paint on it right away, it'll even out. And then it didn't. So when I brought it back here, it might. I don't know. When I brought it back here and looked at it, the thumbprint was obvious. And so I spent a good deal of time trying to sand it out. But then it has a different texture. So I probably should have, again, I panicked and jumped ahead instead of thinking it through, is I should have put a little spritz of primer on it, because that's worked, is just reprime something and then repaint it. But I didn't. I didn't do any of the right things. I did one wrong thing after the other. Okay, this is the gun sight. I'm just going to put it in here now that it's painted and try not to lose it. These pieces need to be primed. I'm going to set them up there. And these need another coat. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that instead of anything else. Here, this is what I'll do. I've got the vertical stabilizer. I'll just leave these out so you can see them. I put a little spritz of white paint. I might end early today just because things are going like this. But I did. I already practiced my going, fix this, groan, holding my head. So this goes on like this. Yeah, that looks okay now. And when it's assembled, here, it's assembled the way this is supposed to work, is that right along this line here, okay, where the two join, this is red, and the center part is white. You can see on the decals. This decal would go here. If I use the decal, this little bit would go there, and then this would go on here. And the white part would be white. This is red. This whole thing would be painted red, and then the decal would go on it. But it's not going to happen. I'm painting the stripes on instead, being brave. So I need to tape this so that the white stripe on up here, so that this part that's white, this little tip right here, matches exactly the line here. And what I thought about doing is attaching this with rubber cement so I can take it off later. Okay. What I've thought about doing is doing that and then taping right along here so that the line is right along. Okay. And then spray painting this red. The So I'm looking at the very, very fine detail. Okay, so one of yours is, so I'm looking at it, in the extreme detail thing is that when this attaches, there's this gap here, right? And I want this side of the gap on the rudder, I want that to be red. All right. But I want the other side, this side here, to stay white. And I'm thinking that if I tape right along the edge here, fine, this will be red. But that might turn white. Might turn red as well. But I think, and I don't want to push the tape down in there necessarily, because then it would get in the way of the red here. But I think that what can happen is if red gets on here, okay, it'll be fairly easy to just sand that off and let it be white. Portals into the void and summon why would you want to summon monsters? Okay, the other thing is that the bottom of this here, right along this edge, the top of this edge, is where the horizontal stabilizer attaches. This is red, right on up to that edge and a little bit below it. And I was thinking if I painted this separately from that, I could paint this red at the same time. But that's just not going to work. I'm going to paint the red on here first and mask this entire thing. And even though it's going to take even though it's going to take more time because I'm doing it as two different steps rather than one, what I mean is I could tape this now, paint this red, tape this and paint the bottom red, and they'd both be painted red when they need to be, and I could move on. But I want to paint this attached because I want this line to be clean. And then this will all be masked, so none of this will be painted at all. None of this horizontal stabilizer. And I'll take this off, clean off the rubber cement, clean the red paint off of here, tape this, paint the red on here, okay? And after that red is painted, well, then I'll paint the green stripe. Maybe I'll paint the green stripe first. The taping would be easier to do that. Well, either way, I have to tape right along the edge here, whether it's painted red ahead of time or not. For the white, it's a pretty straightforward thing. Taping it right there, painting this red, that works. The green stripe right here, the tape goes up like that. This whole thing gets taped over. The only thing is the taping right along this pathway here. The red. I think that if I tape this off, cover this whole thing, tape this off up here like that, and paint the green stripe, that I can tape that more effectively, clean off any green that shows. Yeah, because I want and I'm going to paint the green stripe on this before I paint the red. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know if that made sense. So the many multiple steps for this is I'm going to attach this with rubber cement so that the line between the red, which is this, and the white, which is the middle of this, all the way up with the little tip here, so that this line, when I paint this red, is very precise. Okay. So when I take the tape off, what we'll see is that this is painted red except for this little bit on the top. Okay. And that's going to be white. And then I'm going to mask all of this, take this off, and the green stripe goes right up along here, right to that point, right to that spot right there. Tape that off and the bottom, paint the green on it, take that off. Hopefully the boundary between the green and the white will look beautiful. And then tape along here, do it on both sides, obviously. Tape along here, and then spray paint the bottom the red color. So that's the multiple steps I'm going to be using. Oh, thanks for joining in. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it turns out too. Okay, so I'm going to start working on this now, but that's the process. Stripe, paint the red, take this off, paint the green, then the red. Multiple steps. And hopefully it will look really cool. Hopefully it'll look really good with the green, white, and red stripes on the vertical stabilizer. I'm hoping so anyway. The process on the wing is going to be similar. Okay. I'll be taping off the white area, painting the wingtip red, the center red, the other red. Okay. And then taping the white stripe and all the red, and then painting the green so that it looks, you can't see it, so that it's all red except for the green and the white. I'm using rubber cement. I want this to hold together like this. Because of that, I'm going to paint it. I'm going to put this over the edge like this. See, this is a raised surface. I want that over the edge. Otherwise, it lifts it up and then this doesn't hold. Using rubber cement because I want it to hold, but I want it to hold temporarily so that after I paint the red on it, I can take that off, just clean the rubber cement off, and I can attach it with either model cement or contact cement. Get it on these little tabs and not anywhere else. If I'm real lucky today, I might not even look at the fuselage until Wednesday. I really don't know what I'm going to see. And I'm not I'm not prepared to discuss options today. Just not. Maybe I'll start painting the Porco Rosso minifig. Maybe I'll work on taping the wings. This is going to take a little while anyway. That's going to hold. You don't need to put pressure on it. That doesn't actually make any difference. It is right. I need to have what I can do. Well, the minifig. The minifig is pretty cool. I can paint that. I can start that. And the other thing is, I've got me. I've got the giant me. This is my Furbog fighter character. Is and maybe that's what I'm going to do. This was printed, 3D printed for me, but there's some rough spots on it. What I might end up doing is just filing and sanding, doing some filing and sanding on that. I think what will happen. I think that's good. I think that line is good. If a little bit of red paint gets on here, that's okay because that's going to be painted red. You have a lot of paint all over the bottoms of this. Okay. You just need to do the same thing on this side, pretty much. You think that's in character to bring your doll to life? Probably. offline pretty badly there, and it's sticking to itself. Okay, well, that was just not good. That wasn't good. The other straight edge. Yeah, that's better. All right. So the unmasked part here on both sides is going to be painted red. I think I might give that maybe just a little spritz of primer first. I know it's just like one more step, but I found that I think it'll just look better that way. And what I want is to not have tape on the bottom of it. So what should happen is when I take the tape off, this will all be red, and there will be this little white point there. And the white point will line up with the white stripe on the vertical stabilizer when that happens, when that gets done. Doing this, I am firm in my resolution that I am not going to look at the fuselage today, just because I don't want to get into a big sighing and groaning kind of thing. I just don't want to, so I won't. And one way to avoid that is to avoid the situation. I'm going to be practicing denial here. Not suggesting that you do that as a modeling technique. Is if you're afraid something's screwed up, is to just avoid it. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just telling you that that's what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm going to give this a little zap of primer. These are going to get primed, so I might as well zap this at the same time on both sides, and then I'll paint it red. And I will maybe do that tomorrow, either later today or tomorrow. I think this is set. Sometimes the time goes really, really fast, and other times, like today, it just seems to be dragging. Okay. Well, this has to be done too. This needs to be taped so that it can be painted red. So give this a shot. This line came out pretty nicely. This one I went over a little too far. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this, and there's an edge there that I don't want to show later. Just rub it a little bit with sandpaper to try to even it out. The part I'm sanding here, that's going to end up looking, it's going to be green here. And I let the white get a little bit too far onto the part that's going to be red. And I don't want there to be like a visible edge there, so just feathering it. This side seems to be okay. This side's pretty good, but this side isn't. All right. I'm going to start here by taping. I might as well do that a little bit too. I almost put the tape back on here, which is the part that needs to be painted. I need to put the tape here. Painted red side. Part that's taped here, this part that has the tape on it, that will be painted green. Nice and tight along there, because I don't want that to be to leak. Tape the other side on this one while I'm at it. This one's a little bit challenging because there's these raised spots here where the floats get attached. I think I want those to be red. Push the tape down around them. Those don't line up. It's not quite that critical at this point because the green will be going on here. That would be the critical part, is matching up, making sure the green stripe matches up, but I'm not quite understanding why. think that's better. Okay, well, there. I need to cover this then too. Could just put a piece of paper over it, but I might as well use the expensive tape. Oh, duh. I need to, the wingtip needs to be red. But does the stripe only go on the bottom? What am I doing here? It's designed so the stripe only goes on the bottom. Almost made a huge mistake here. Oh my. Okay. I wasn't thinking this through. I kept thinking the stripe, but the stripe only goes on the bottom of the wing, not on the top. The top stays all red. Oh, how am I going to do this? I mean, painting this red, painting the top red isn't going to be a problem. I just. Because I'm looking at this decal, and the decal has these little cutouts here, and those little cutouts go around the the attachment points, but they'll look like decals. They won't look like they're painted on. Will this look if I put the stripes on the top also? You know, need, but I don't want to mess it up. Okay, what I don't want, I want this to look like Porco Rosso's plane from the Miyazaki film. And if the stripes are not on the top, if the stripes are not on the top, then I don't want to put stripes on the top. I think what I need to do is I need to investigate. I really do. I need to investigate. If the stripes are only on the bottom, then I have to figure out how to paint them only on the bottom and get a nice clean edge on the leading edge of the wing like that. See how nice and clean that is? Which would give it, I would get that with the decal, but the decals just, I think they just don't look like it should. Okay. Well, I know I'm just going to defer this. Okay. I'll leave the tape on here. I can always take it off again. I mean, suppose it's possible to put a piece of tape across the leading edge here. So that's a nice clean line. Well, okay. So that's just delayed. I need to investigate and see if in the show in the Miyazaki animated feature, Porco Rosso, whether in fact the stripes are on the top and the bottom or just the bottom of the wing. And if they're just the bottom of the wing, then I'm going to have to suck it up and somehow make sure that they're painted only on the bottom of the wing. I thought I was being really clever by painting them on the top and the bottom, thinking that the stripes were on the top primarily. But it's obvious when I look at the box top that they're not. You know, when you look at the model, the constructed model here, you know, it's red all the way across. So, wow, that was a thing. I can go ahead with these. I'll get these primed, paint this red, then paint these on Wednesday. But I thought I was going to make some progress on the wing, but I'm obviously not. I want to put a third coat of the brown paint on these floats. Get that done. Cover up the wing again. All right. So on Wednesday, which is a ways away yet, I will be having completed my investigation of the Porco Rosso plane and maybe doing a significant about face on the stripe painting and painting them only on the bottom of the wings. I'm going to continue to make slow progress on the vertical stabilizer, though. So on Wednesday, I'm going to be painting these bits, unmasking this and remasking it so that I can paint the green and then the red. It'll be multi-step process. I'll get this little guy painted. I'm going to mask the floats. That'll take almost the entire time, figuring out how to mask those. And then spray painting those Thursday probably. We'll see how that goes. Maybe not. And then touching up the bottoms of the floats. So maybe by Friday, these will be done. And these bits here, if not that, will be done as well. And then I'll have to figure out what to do with the wing and maybe change plans significantly in terms of how that's going to go. The other thing I can do, there's the Porco Rosso minifig that I can start painting while I am contemplating the rest of that. I have to take a look at the fuselage. I'll do that. Maybe I'll just do that and get it over with early in the stream and maybe shake my head and just groan endlessly about what will need to be done to try to fix it. I'm not sure. And then, I'll just keep plugging away at that. And of course, I've got my maxi fig of my Furbog fighter that I can start painting as well. So I think after I put the third coat of paint on these, I'm going to just spend the rest of this session filing away some of the rough spots on my maxi fig. Sorry about that. It was like, wow, this is coming along. And then it's, oh my God, I might have been making a terrible mistake. And I don't want to make a terrible mistake. Okay, well, we'll see how this goes. I think just putting some more of this on the floats and then doing some filing. Some filing would be that'll be enough for today. Looking at this, this is a good idea to put this third coat on here. I'm just seeing some spots that great. And hopefully after it's spray painted red on the top, all I'll have is just a bunch of touching up to do around the edges. Yeah, and as I'm doing this, it was, I really did this backward because I lacked confidence in myself in being able to paint that edge. Nice clean edge there. I should have painted it red first. So like I said, I may end up essentially redoing what I've been doing here. And this is another classic example of maybe this is not how to do it. Relaxing painting. But I did catch what could have been a huge error. Not an irretrievable one. I could always just, clean the paint off and repaint it, but an unforced error like that is, it's just not necessary, right? Okay. So on Wednesday, I will be cleaning up the edges a little bit on those, just a little bit, and then attempting to tape them so that I can spray paint them red, and then probably doing a whole lot of little touching up, sanding down the red leaks that get under the tape, and then retouching up the edges between the brown and the red. Might be ending a little early today. Just anyway, we'll see how this goes. I did the forbidden word. I haven't been saying that as much as I used to, which is why I made the resolution. One of my 2 New Year's resolutions was to not use the forbidden word. I just let it leak out a little bit there, instead of saying it maybe 10 times during the stream. The other resolution was to keep my work surface clean, and I haven't done that very well, at least not today. I have a bunch of stuff, I scattered a lot of stuff around today. All right. Well, the little bit that I accomplished today, and it has been a little bit, is I got this ready to go. These pieces are ready to be primed and then partially painted. These are recoated and are ready to be masked and then spray painted red. Hopefully that will work. I avoided looking at the fuselage to see whether I've got a disaster there that I need to fix, or whether I just need to live with a thumbprint on the side of the fuselage. And I was going to get the wings ready to be masked so I could spray paint those red between now and Wednesday. But now, as I was looking at the decals, I thought I was putting the stripes on the top and the bottom, but the one on the box top and the model that was built is only on the bottom. And I need to check the actual real Miyazaki animated feature to see how those stripes are applied. Yep. So it goes. I'm going to get out the needle files. I'm going to talk about Dice and Dungeons while I clean this up. And what we may end up seeing is maybe a little bit of suspension of the work on the Savoia and a digression to the Porco minifig or to this model. I want one that's rounded. I've got a round one here. Round. That's not round. This is round. Nice flat one and a nice triangular one. Yeah. So this was 3D printed here on one of the new 3D printers, and it came out really well. But there's just rough spots, okay, and this is going to be painted kind of a glossy color, and things like the rough spots on the bottom here, they're just going to be obvious. So I'm going to file them off. And then there's some other issues like a little bit of on the bottom of the dagger. But I want this to look pretty good. Painted. This is my figure from our Dungeons and Dragons show. I play a furbog fighter and named Ulseth Ralph. And this is actually an enlarged version, like 4 or 5 times bigger than the minifig that is featured in our show. So if you were to watch an episode on YouTube, for example, you would, and there was a combat, you would see this minifig, this maxi fig, as a minifig. And several times now, you might even get to see me being mostly dead. I get to do the melee part. We have a bard and a druid and a ranger, so they get to all stand back, and except for magic attacks, no one who gets to be mostly dead. But this was a Christmas gift, and I actually should start working on it. It's like a desktop model of me for me. I have a flaming longsword. The flames are flaming away here for sure, and it'll be fun to paint that. And the armor of this minifig is a set of full plate that I acquired. I think actually one of the other, for some reason, my character is really bad at finding gold, money in the game currency, in-game currency, and everybody else, especially Zoria, seems to be really good at it. They bought me a set of full plate armor, but since this minifig was created, I acquired a set of magical mithril armor that belonged to a character named Romarden, an elf. And my mentor was a follower of Romarden, and I now have Romarden's armor. It's damaged and needs to be repaired, so that the magic in it, I can find out what the magic really is. So the armor that I'm wearing in the game, in the show right now, is, all metal, right? It's just metallic. But the armor of Romarden is mithril, and it's the Order of Romarden is much like the Shiranoon, which is part of the elf cult, to which Remarden was a founding member. It's a long story. You can follow it on, if you look at some of the old YouTube episodes, you can relive my discovery of the history of Remarden. But it's mainly green, glossy green with silver and gold embellishments on it. And so I'm going to actually paint the armor green, for the most part, the silver and gold embellishments, so that it looks more like the armor would be that I am wearing now. It's not exactly right. I mean, I probably should have a brand new minifig with the new armor, but I'm going to make this look that way anyway. Well, as I'm sitting here, I am discovering that I am going to have to end early because I need to take a bio break, and I'm close enough to the end of the stream that will be the end of it. So I'll just let you know that. But I want to do a plug for our D&D show. Dice and Dungeons is a group of family and friends, and we run a Dungeons and Dragons show. We're well over 100 episodes now. All of them are on YouTube. You can catch up by skimming through them, or however you want to do that. And if you're not watching our show, you really need to, because it's a really great show. Our DM is just incredible. She's a really good voice actor and creates all sorts of NPCs that we have come to know and love, or hate in some cases. There's a couple that we hate. Has put together an amazing world in which we are living and working and fighting and shopping when we can. It's an important part of the show, is shopping, especially the best part of shopping are the discount bins at magic shops. If you have not visited the discount bin at your magic shops and your games, you really need to. It's always the best experience. You never know what you're going to get. She comes up with really kind of hilarious things that are not really game-changing, kind of quasi-cosmetic stuff. That's kind of funny. We have footwear, magical footwear. I have a pair of socks. Everybody else has boots, but I have to wear, these kind of boots. So I have socks, and they leave a trail of chewed gum. Yeah, I mean what can you say? Wherever I walk, I can leave a trail of chewed gum. One of the other characters has a pair of boots that when they walk, they fart. Okay, each a step. And that actually, we ended up using that in a combat once. It was pretty hilarious. The DM, you create fart boots, right? You don't expect them to be anything other than the joke, but they actually were part of a plan that we executed. It worked really well. It was pretty hilarious. So DMs out there, be careful what you create. If you create joke items, you might be creating an item that has a significant role to play later on in the game. And then one of the others has magical clown shoes. When the heels are tapped together, the boots turn into these gigantic 2-foot long, 3-foot long clown shoes, which again, was just a joke, but you never know. You never know when they might become an important thing. So Dyson Dungeons, our Dyson Dungeons and Dragons show is amazing. You need to watch it. It streams with a live chat on Twitch on most Sundays at 2:00. All of the old episodes are on YouTube, and so you can catch up with the characters. And I encourage you strongly to try to do that. This stream started because we make our own minifigs. Like, this is my original one. This is me at the start. This is me at the start of our show, wearing Tashira Noon armor. You can see glossy green with silver highlights, dual wielding, just elven swords and short swords. Okay, and I carry rope. I always have lots of rope. It's important. You never know when you need it, and you need it frequently. But we do our own minifigs, and this stream started and with mainly me, but also Zoria, our changeling druid, painting dungeon tiles and minifigs for the show. And when we don't have dungeon tiles and minifigs for the show, I work on models like the Savoia, which was making pretty good progress until I discovered today that I might have been making a huge mistake that I need to do some research on before I proceed. So there. I am going to wrap up a half hour early today. I really thank everybody for joining in. I will be back on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'll be painting these little bits. Okay. I'll be taping these in preparation for trying to paint the parts that are now kind of pink looking, red. I'll be taping the wings, either for the stripes on the tops and the bottoms or just the bottoms. And yeah, I'll see you then.